Hello everyone, my name is Kamal. I am studying bpharmacy at Maharaja College of Pharmacy. Now I am going to give seminar on topic glycolysis. The word glycolysis indicates the breakdown of glucose. Glycolysis is the major metabolic pathway in which glucose is converted into pyruvic acid. During this process, ATP is generated. Glycolysis usually occurs in the cytoplasm and it is independent of oxygen, means it can occur aerobically or anaerobically, and it is the major metabolic pathway for the tissues or cells without mitochondria such as erythrocytes. They majorly dependent on glycolysis for energy production. In glycolysis, the intermediate products are ATP and NADH. The NADH further enters into ETC to produce more amount of ATP. Reactions of glycolysis. There are three phases in glycolysis: energy investment phase, splitting phase, and energy generation phase. In energy investment phase, during this phase, ATP is utilized. At first, glucose is converted into glucose 6-phosphate in presence of enzyme hexokinase. During this step, a molecule of ATP is utilized. This glucose 6-phosphate is further converted into isomeric form, which is fructose 6-phosphate. This step is catalyzed by enzyme phosphorofructoisomerase. Fructose 6-phosphate is further converted into fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. During this process, another molecule of ATP is utilized. This step is catalyzed by enzyme phosphofructokinase. Until now, we invested the ATP. Now coming to the splitting phase. In this phase, this fructose 1,6-bisphosphate is splitted into two molecules of 3-carbon compound, which are glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate. It occurs in presence of enzyme aldolase. Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate are isomers. Hence, they can be interconverted into each other. This interconversion takes place in presence of enzyme triose phosphate isomerase. Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate now convert into 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. It occurs in presence of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase. During this process, we generate one molecule of NADH. 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate is further converted into 3-phosphoglycerate in presence of enzyme phosphoglycerokinase. During this process, another molecule of ATP is generated. This 3-phosphoglycerate converted into 2-phosphoglycerate by enzyme phosphoglyceromutase. 2-phosphoglycerate is converted into phosphoenol pyruvate by enzyme enolase. Finally, this phosphoenol pyruvate converted into pyruvate by enzyme pyruvate kinase. During this process, a molecule of ATP is generated. Under anaerobic conditions, this pyruvate is further converted into lactate in presence of enzyme lactate dehydrogenase. During this process, a molecule of NADH is consumed and NAD plus is generated. Let us discuss about energetics of glycolysis. Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase acts on glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and converts it into 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. During this process, a molecule of NADH is generated, and by the action of enzyme phosphoglycerokinase on 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate, it is converted into 3-phosphoglycerate. At this step, one molecule of ATP is generated, and finally by the action of pyruvate kinase, the phosphoenol pyruvate is converted into pyruvate, which leads to generation of one molecule of ATP. As we know, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphates are isomers. They can interconvert into each other. Thus, this cycle runs 2 times, which leads to generation of 2 molecules of NADH and 4 molecules of ATP. 2 molecules of NADH is equivalent to 5 molecules of ATP. Thus, the total amount of ATP generated is 9. But in energy investment phase, we utilize 2 ATP. Thus, the total amount of ATP is 7. Significance of glycolysis. Glycolysis is the emergency energy yielding pathway for energy, and it is a major energy source for cells such as erythrocytes. Glycolysis occurs anaerobically. It is independent of oxygen. Conclusion. Glycolysis doesn't require oxygen. It is the starting point for both aerobic and anaerobic respiration processes and occurs in cell cytoplasm. Glycolysis breaks down the glucose into 2 pyruvic acid molecules. Thank you.